What's happening, my friend?
What's going on? Let's see if this thing's going to work on Facebook tonight.
Come on, you can do it, Facebook.
Right? Oh, you got to be kidding me. I don't know, buddy. I don't know.
What's it
I don't
saying?
know. Okay. So you have beehives and you are organic. Very nice. Live on Facebook. Let's see what this share on your share in a group. Not even picking up the groups. You got to be kidding me with this thing. What does Facebook hate Zoom lately?
You know, they're all not liking each other too much.
Like where you say share in a group doesn't even have the next button anymore, where it used to say pick the group. Hmm. Okay. What did we do last time? YouTube Live?
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
YouTube Live and
thing. I'm guessing. Let me see here. I wonder if it's because you're scheduling them and not me.
um
I'm
no,
gonna
because
try it.
I'm scheduling them as you. So
That's true, right? That's true. Hey, Jay, let me try this way. Live on YouTube. Let's try this. Oh, got to give YouTube credit. Looks like it's going to work. You're going to have to post up, James, for everybody. If they can't get on the Zoom, then to go on the YouTube channel. It is
Can you
going
guys
live.
see and hear me?
Yeah,
Derek, can you see me?
yeah, I can see you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay.
uh,
So Facebook Live is not working for the second week in a row now. I guess with this new Facebook, they had this whole update, so I guess it's not working with Zoom yet. Which I'm going to call and yell at Zoom that I'm paying for something I shouldn't be, but regardless. But we are on live on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
let me see. I got the link copied. Let me just post that into the group.
Hey, where's my T-shirt and my book?
They're all available for you, my friend. Just
Wait,
sign.
wait. You mean this book?
Oh,
Oh, really?
wow. I
Thanks,
got
James.
copies
Oh, yeah, I'm
before
going
I
to send you
did.
one down, Eric. Yeah, I'll send you one.
Let's see. Where am I?
Eric's been living in another world with this freaking software platform. So I don't think I've ever been so worn out and tired in my life, except for when I went through Hell Week in the Marines.
Wow. Salon business and the Marines. You never hear those in the same sentence.
I know, right? Good analogy. Let's see. I stayed awake for a week during Hell Week without sleep, and now I feel like I'm doing it, building this new software platform. So
Will you guys just tell me, is this shot hitting straight across or am I looking down?
no, you're perfect.
Okay.
Got a little shine on the top of the chrome dome, though, but
It's called a halo, my friend. Yes, it's called a halo.
Oh god.
that's good stuff.
Hey, you got it. All these Zoom calls. You got yourself a nice new microphone there too.
Right?
I've had it. I just didn't know what works better, the headphones or the microphone. So if you guys tell me this is working clear,
No,
that's
it's
good.
perfect. It's perfect.
Okay, good.
Let's see.
I'm jealous. I'm about to turn into Yeti mic now.
Oh no, don't do that. Just don't turn in your Yeti mug or the cooler or any of that stuff. Eric, we're almost twins, you and I, with the black T-shirt, the black glasses.
Well,
You into shaving your head.
I'll tell you a funny story.
I'll tell you something. If I had a good shaped head, I would. I remember getting it shaved in the Marines, and I looked like I got in a bar fight. And my head got cracked in.
Well, it's funny because people make the comment now. They go, "You have a nicely shaped head," but it's just you don't know what to do with it because it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, you use a head blade? Use the head blade, or what do you use?
No, are you talking about the thing you put between your fingers and you go like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I tried that. Getting the blades, the replacements were tough. So no, but it's a very clever concept.
Yeah, my friend uses that, and it seemed to work, better than using the buzzer all the time, right?
Yeah. James, so are you on the West Coast there? I mean, it's bright sunshine. And
He's being very organic tonight.
Yeah, this is actually from a farm called Red Bee, which is a very good friend of ours, Marina Marchese. She's the only American trained by the Slow Food Presidio to be a honey expert, and she's actually an author. She wrote a cool book called The Honey Connoisseur. So if you think wine pairing, with cheese and fruit and things like that, she does honey pairings. So it's I always love that deconstructed salad kind of thing, right? You go out with friends when you could go out with friends, and everything you sort of make your own. So it's sort of that very interactive, friendly food eating. And believe it or not, the honeys that she gets, they're all single origin from all over the world, and it's amazing how different they pair with different things, and the texture and the color, and it's pretty cool. But this is her farm in Weston, Connecticut.
wow, that'd be a great,
I'm not here, by the way, but
okay, it'd be a great team building activity. Selfishly, if you're doing a podcast for her, will you plug my book just like you plugged her book on this? Sorry, it's after hours, James. Okay, the filters come off.
that's it. I'm trying to find one more of our winners. So we did something kind of fun this time, Jay. So we had Vanessa Rose and Mary Wilson on for our first of these feel good vibe calls. So they posted a bunch of questions, and we have a bunch of winners, and we'll talk about what they won. That's one of the reasons why you're here today. So I'm just looking for one more winner that she told me.
It can't be like Oprah.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yes.
You're a winner, and you're a winner, and you're a winner.
Yes, and your retail sales from 2019 are going to come back into your bank account after COVID.
Yes. Of course, you'll have to do some work for it. Someone said something, the funniest thing. They said, yeah, no one ever realized that when opportunity knocks, what's on the other side is hard work. So we talk about the retail coming back. Yes.
Hey, Donna. Hey, Elaine. Whole bunch of people coming in. Cool. See what's
Hey,
going
Derek,
on.
send me your address, my friend. And I'm just assuming that you work out. I have never seen you. Are you size XL?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my push-up routine is the other half that's killing me right now. My
Oh.
wife decided we're doing 5 miles a day, and I started. There's a program called 1 to 100 push-ups, but I can already do 100. So my friend just entered a push-up contest. He did 3,000 straight. So we're working together now, and that's my goal.
Wait a second. He did. So I was going to ask you if you did 100 straight. When you say you did 3,000 straight, that means you commit a day to doing push-ups.
Yeah, I think it took him about 8 hours to do it. He had a contest in his fire department against one of the young bucks. He's not my age. He's I guess he's about 45. So that's pretty damn good for 45 years old.
That's remarkable. James,
Bill was 51.
James,
My
how
wife
long
just
did it
got
take you to do
55.
3,000 push-ups? Was it 45 years? I was,
Yeah, 40, actually 46 and a half years actually. So
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I do 100, and I'm like, wrap me up in a coffin right now.
I'm impressed. I thought you did 100 like within a workout. I didn't realize they were consecutive.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So he broke his up in sets of 100. Then it was like a 10 to 20-second break between each set. But they had the contest, and whoever gave out first, he ended up doing 3,000. So pretty good.
Wow. It's amazing. It's better than pretty good. It's
Yeah,
remarkable.
yeah, yeah. No, it is. He's a stud, no doubt.
It's not James, is it?
Now,
Oh, okay. I just didn't know. I know how modest James is with his
you know what
work.
the biggest problem with working out is? Finding the time. We could all do it, but booking, and you say, and I'm sure you say this to your owners also, you got to book the time for yourself, right? Put it on the calendar. Never works out.
You know what it is? It's, I mean, you know this, right? It's just the routine, getting in the habit. When I work out for long, extended periods, I'm not making a decision in the morning. It's the night before I'm going to do it. It's a routine. And when I don't do it, it's when I break that routine.
Yeah. And a problem when you're a very active person in your mind, like we are, is trying to focus. And while you're doing it, you've got all these ideas and this and that going on, right? It's kind of shutting your brain down at the same time.
Yeah. So I guess that's a compliment to James and I. We're not the most physically fit guys, but thank you, Derek. That was a nice way to say that. You guys are in the best of shape, but
yes,
smart as a whip, you two.
There he is.
There he is.
Honor the struggle. Andrew, what's going on? Oh, you're muted as usual. Your wife muted you.
Derek, you got a haircut, man.
How was that holiday weekend, Andrew?
What holiday weekend, Derek?
Happy New Year, my friend.
Thank you.
yes. Happy New Year, Andrew.
Oh, it's a nice backyard, James.
Yeah, in my spare time, I like to keep bees, but just whatever I can do, whatever I can do.
Andrew, happy holidays. I will follow everybody's lead there.
Thank
You're
you. sir.
smiling.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you?
I can't complain. Hear what's going on in the world. And, if you factor in the things that are most important to you, I think I'm doing pretty good.
Doing great.
Hey, a little bee said you had a new book.
Yeah, it's not true, but yes, I'm spreading that rumor. Yes. It's true. It's going to be ready. It is ready, actually.
It is ready.
It is ready.
But are you ready?
I've taken pre-orders, and yes.
Good.
Yeah, I will, Jay. I'll post some pre-order links in the Facebook group, and we'll put it up in here tonight too for the people that are on Zoom.
Okay. So that so it doesn't get confusing, the link is this versus that book.com. For some reason, if you type in www before it, it doesn't redirect it. So simply this versus that book.com.
But what's that book that it's versed against? That's what I want to know.
And we'll talk about that. It's a great question. So, yes, it's the Bible. I figured, yeah, I just picked a book. It's either the Bible or the Art of War. So I just,
There's a lot of similarities between the two.
One's a lot longer than the other, but yes.
James, quick question. In the YouTube, how do you get on to it says 8 people watching now. How do you get into the comments and everything?
YouTube will actually post them on the sidebar. So I'm going to open up a second window. And let's see, I can view the stream.
Guys on YouTube right now, post a quick message, just say hello. So we got some comments going on.
Hey, Andrew, is your son's
place
Similarities between the two.
closed.
Yeah.
They shut down, shut down all those places. They allowed outdoor space to do it, but he doesn't have outdoor space. So thank you for asking, but they're shut down.
Is the landlord doing anything for them?
Yeah, I mean, he's working with the landlord, but when you have no business, you have no, you can't open. Everyone is foolish. Anyway, it's just, let's put it this way, it's infuriating.
But it is, I'm going to tell you, it is real though. I was at the hospital this morning. I didn't tell you, Andrew. My wife, I had to rush her to the hospital this morning. She had a really, I guess, a really bad nosebleed or hemorrhage from, they put her on that blood thinner for the AFib. And so we had to go to the hospital. And I'm listening in the background. They're making one call after another. Hey, you're not positive. Hey, your daughter's got COVID. What are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. That kind of thing. It was.
Yeah, no, there's people. There are people. I'm not. This is not about denial.
What was
It's
strange
about-
to me is the hospital was basically telling them, don't come in until you can't breathe anymore. That, in around, in layman's terms, that's what they were saying.
Where are you located, Derek?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I just heard New York and New Jersey were spiking again. God forbid it gets bad again. I just, it seems to be a lot of younger people, which I just want to
look,
because they're going out to bars,
it's a definition, Derek. It's a
partying.
definition of spike. If spike means more people, more tests, more people, it's just the percentages. The more testing you have, the more people are going to test positive, and that's how it is. But it's who they are, and that makes a big difference. So,
Well, let's hope the vaccine comes out soon, so that'll put everybody's fears to rest, and hopefully we can get back to normal.
I'm testing a vaccine myself right now just to see.
that works really well.
Cheers, James. Hold on. Our pictures are
Oh
close.
yeah, wait, I gotta go this way.
Other side. There you go.
So James, when they decide to do a half pour, you just got a bigger glass?
That's all.
That's why. Clever.
You've seen that funny picture online, right, where it's like the two older guys with the snifters sitting outside like an Italian coffee bar, and the snifters are like, like fish bowls, and they're, cheersing. But I have to tell you though, Jay, I'm disappointed. I had my nice Leave Your Mark black shirt ready to go,
Yeah.
and I had it hanging up in my bedroom, and we went to the in-laws for Sunday dinner as we typically do. So my son was still messing around on Xbox or something, so he was going to ride his bike. Thankfully, they're only a few blocks away. So we go, we have dinner, and he walks in the door, and he's got my Leave Your Mark t-shirt on, because now at 13, Dad's t-shirt collection is now our t-shirt collection. And I said, dude, that's my shirt for Monday's show. And he said, well, I didn't have anything clean. I said, well, now, after it's been on a 13-year-old all day, one nice day we had this weekend that it was warm, I'm definitely not going to rewear that.
Wow, yeah. Did you tell him it's like a Rolling Stones t-shirt? It's a collector's item. It's well, good. They're all for sale. So, you know what? If one for your son, one for you. Goes to a good cause. I mean, all of it goes towards that stopping the human trafficking. So,
Yeah, and hey, Oscar's with us in the YouTube group, so I know you had been on Oscar's call last week, but Oscar, hate to tell you, I actually have a copy of the book. So, just letting you know. I got an advanced screening copy because Jay really wanted my feedback.
we were in Hollywood together. Can everyone hear the conversation?
Yes,
Oh, okay. I thought we were having a problem. Okay.
No, you're live.
Oh,
we're
we're live.
live.
So we won't see anyone then.
Well, no, and because YouTube is, they don't show pictures. We've got a bunch of people on YouTube, and we've got a good amount of people in here. So I guess we'll wait, 3 more minutes, and we'll get started.
Awesome.
James, you want to post up?
Could you do in 3 minutes, Derek?
It's
Just
10
because
after. It makes
Right.
sense.
You could do how many? Could you do 100.
We could do 3. We could do 5. Whatever's good for you, Jay.
No push-ups. I'm just curious, like how many could you do?
Oh, only because it's 8:07 now, so I figured 8:10 we'd kick it off live.
Oh, I was asking about the push-ups.
Oh, the push-ups. What about it? What?
Well, how many could you do in 3 minutes? Andrew, you missed this conversation.
I
I
don't know,
did miss this conversation. I think you've lost your mind.
The goal is there's a program called 0 to 100. You get that done. Once you get that done, then you start doing sets of 100. So in 3 minutes, you wouldn't last 3 minutes. It's usually about a minute and a half to 2 minutes. You can bang out 100.
Okay.
Well, Derek, you can do 100 push-ups in a minute and a half.
No, for me, it's about 2.5 minutes right now.
You can do 100 push-ups in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and then I
Is your
die.
wife is your wife there right now
She
in the
knows.
room with you? Does everyone want to see Derek? Does everyone want to see Derek do?
Oh, she'll tell you.
It's always been his thing.
You hear? Can you hear? It's
Yeah.
always been my thing. So I tried to stay with it, but it hasn't. So my friend was over last week, and I was telling Jay before you got on, there was a push-up contest in the fire department for not consecutive, but you could break it up in sets, but basically till failure, whoever could go the most. And he did 3,000 at 51 years old. So not too shabby.
That's it?
Yeah. But I got to be honest with you, every morning, he does pull-ups, he does push-ups, he does Hindu squats, no weight training, and then he runs 3 miles. But he trains for the push-ups nonstop.
Wow.
So it can be done.
I
course.
feel lazy now. A comment popped up, Derek, and someone wants to see you do that. They would like to see it.
I will video it, but not until I get past my 100. I want to do 200 or 300. That's my next goal. And then when I do that, I'll video it, and we'll put it on just for shits and giggles.
Wow. Yeah.
Of course, I may be in the hospital the next day.
Derek, there's a book
Can't
called
visit you, unfortunately, or else we would.
There's a book called Tiny Little Habits. Very interesting. It's a very interesting book about habit formation. And the author, who is, I believe he's a head of some institute out of Stanford University, writes about how he developed his habit of doing push-ups. I'm not going to reveal what his trigger was, but not publicly here. But check out the book.
No, I definitely will, and I think I have heard of it. I'll tell you one of the most motivating books I've read, and the title's jumping out of my head, not in my head right now because I'm old, and you'll know which one I'm talking about. It's by the guy that was a Navy SEAL and Army Airborne. He was fat, lost all the weight. Now he runs not triathlons. What's the next one? The mega marathons where they run like 100 miles and all that great stuff. Andrew, you know what book I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do, and because I'm old and
Yeah, same thing, right?
I'm tapped out today. Yeah.
What the hell is the book? Can't Stop Me. It's something like that. And it's one of the best books. It really is. I'll tell you right now. This guy has got like just amazing accomplishments.
You know, I noticed no one ever writes a book about being dynamically mediocre.
Is that the title of your next one?
I'm interested. I just wonder if people go, you know what? I like this book. It just gave me
It
validation.
resonates with me, right?
It resonates with me. Yeah.
It's actually called Can't Hurt Me, is the name of the book. One of the best, David Goggins.
You're right, Goggin. Okay, thank you.
David Goggins, if anybody ever wants to read a story of amazement, it's almost as amazing as this guy that was a Navy SEAL and now he's a freaking astronaut, this Asian kid. I don't know if you read about him lately. He went from being a Navy SEAL to a doctor and now he's an astronaut. Talk about accomplishments.
What a loser, man. I can't believe it.
Yeah, right?
Terrible.
Seriously.
Terrible. Doesn't know how to spend his time. I mean, you know,
Shouldn't he be on this podcast? I'm not sure why I'm here now. James, I'm developing an inferiority complex. Yes.
So,
well, you know, we chose this versus that, so look what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful. Yeah.
We got this.
Yeah, I could see the intro now. Yeah, we want someone who's really smart and engaging and accomplished a lot, but they weren't available, so we got Jay. So here you guys go. Enjoy.
I can do it for you.
Yeah.
You should be bettering them, Jay. So,
But great smile is a requirement.
wait. Here we go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. This is
And take one.
all right.
so if you notice, that was my joke with Jay is, what would Jay Williams do, right?
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
are live. Welcome to BBR 67. Tonight we have the honor of having Jay Williams on, and Jay is going to introduce us to his new book and some other great thoughts. Jay, the floor is all yours.
Wow. Well, I haven't ran a marathon. I haven't done 3,000 push-ups. I'm not an astronaut, nor am I a Navy SEAL. They still interested, James? Is that okay?
Well, listen, everybody likes the seals in the zoo. That makes a good zoo. If they have seals and they have penguins, I think that's the defining factor of whether a zoo is a good zoo or not. Otherwise, it's just, it's like a pet store otherwise.
Jay, and I'll, from in case anybody doesn't know, when you're in the service, all the services kind of the rivals, and we bust each other's chops nonstop. So I would say to the SEALs, hey, everybody needs a good taxi driver or an Uber driver, because we're Marines. They chauffeur us around.
Geez, I tell you, it's a tough audience.
Anyway,
Wow.
my little bit of humor.
Wow. All right, James, make me look good for the audience then. Now they're seriously questioning, dedicating this time.
So here, I'll start this way, and I'll say, Jay and I have been friends for a while. It's funny. This is sort of a liar's book because his book actually isn't out officially yet. It comes out at the beginning of October. So this is actually my signed copy of Leave Your Mark that's in there from Jay from way back. But we're definitely excited. I did see some excerpts of the book. Jay, you've been on. I've been on two times before, or this is your second time?
I know. This is like the Johnny Carson, or people probably aren't old enough. Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase, one of those guys, yes.
But we started this round all about positive vibes and about wins and about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, whether it's a pinhole, whether it's the Lincoln Tunnel, whatever that looks like for you, and however close that may be or far away. And obviously, you were one of the first names that the three of us talked about getting back on because you always have that positive vibe and just you're able to pose questions. And one of the worst things about being friends with Jay, by the way, is you call him on the phone and you have an idea, and every question he throws back at you, and you get done, and it's like, do I lay on the couch while I talk to him and like my feet up, and like is this like a psychotherapy session? Do I have to paint? But Jay is a very good friend of mine and a very good friend of ours, and we talked a little bit about empathy and sympathy. What was the title? I know the joke was, what would Jay Williams do? But it was, how are you going to show up? Which I think is super appropriate. Most salons are kind of getting into that 10, 12-ish week mark. We're getting into October. Tomorrow's the first day of fall, where that crucial 3 months at the end of the year used to be your biggest billing months, your biggest retail months, your staff meeting, your planning for the next year. And we're just trying to pick everybody up and raise everybody up and get them out and into a good vibe. So, Jay, how are they going to show up? Tell us.
How are they showing up? All right, so I need some feedback because I saw one of the comments. Someone asked me to turn up my mic. So can someone just give me a thumbs up? Do I sound clear? Yes? Okay, we'll go with that. Here's where I think we need to start, is that we got to start with our thinking. And I think there's three things that are required today to help you navigate through the next 30 days. When I say navigate through, and we'll talk about that in just a second. It's empathy, it's sympathy, and being respectful. And now I know for people who have listened, they're thinking, oh, come on, we need something different. But if you'll go down this path with me and you think about what's going on, this is not a political conversation. I'm just saying observationally, if you look at politics, if you look at society now, the disconnect is that there is a lack of empathy and sympathy and respectfulness. So empathy and sympathy, I think, are self-explanatory. What's the wild card in all this is being respectful, whether you respect someone or not. And I think the challenge, so whether it's your political beliefs, whether it's your religious beliefs, whether it's your sexual connotation beliefs, whatever your beliefs may be, is it seems to be just there's something dynamically going on now. There's a lot of different ones. And what we're doing is that when we don't respect someone, we're not respectful to them. And so the challenge, I think, and the opportunity now to navigate through is to show empathy for that other person, is to show this simple sympathy and being respectful, whether you respect them or not. And so I'm going to tread lightly in the sense that I'm not going to give you specific examples. If you look at what's going on, if you turn on the news and you listen today, I'm going to ask you, do you hear empathy? Do you hear sympathy? And do you see people being respectful, whether they respect the other person or not? And so I think it's imperative, James, because how you show up has to do with your thinking. And so the thinking now that I think is most imperative for leaders, and when I say leaders, by the way, I mean the mindset. It doesn't have to be in your title. And when I say leaders, I'm talking about people who influence other people in their thinking, in their behaviors, and in their actions. So whether you're leading a team or you're leading a business or you're leading a small group or you're leading your family or your kids at home, this is the mindset. Is there an empathy and sympathy and respectfulness for your kids and how they're learning, for their teachers, for your spouse, for your employees? And you run the risk now of, especially with your employees, that the priorities are different, that the values maybe are not aligning. And so you run the risk of not, quote unquote, respecting them. And what follows up is you're not respectful. So I'm going to pause there because I think our conversation is going to feel like the way I think, which is in bullet point. So it's triggering some other thoughts, but I just want to pause there and either get feedback or a question on that. So it's around empathy, sympathy, and respectfulness. And I think there's a lot of great leadership conversation. What I will share with you is that this is the rocket fuel for your rocket ship. So whatever leadership programs you're involved in, you're leading, you're listening to, you're reading about, they will not be successful if you don't possess and model empathy, sympathy, and respectfulness. Now, this is going to be for your clients too. I mean, I want you to see that. So somebody put, and James, help me out, where does the emotional intelligence come in? Is that one of the questions that was asked?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So for those of you that I'm just going to put a common definition out, if I can, so everybody's operating from the same point. The emotional intelligence, and I love the group, I love, where they go with this, is emotional intelligence is simply your ability to identify and understand an emotion in yourself and others and adjust your behavior accordingly. So I can tell you personally, over the last 5 months, there are times I've had to struggle with topics that are going on in the world today to find empathy. And you may ask, now, what I want to share with you is that studies have shown if you can identify an emotion, you're 80% more likely to do something about it. So the mere fact that I could identify that I didn't have empathy for this cause, for this topic, this group, whatever it may be, the way that the brain works, You're on your way to doing something about it. And so for me, the way that I gain empathy is to seek out the other person's perspective. Now, I'm going to be careful in this conversation, and I'm going to respect where you guys are and where your thinking is. I just want you to look at examples and ask where there's maybe a disconnect for you is, do you have empathy for that other group? Now, it could be another race, it could be another religion, it could be another political group, it could be an employee, it could be a family member. Empathy will come if you can seek out the other person's perspective. So empathy will lead to the sympathy. Sympathy is a skill, by the way, that you can learn. So for those of you who are listening, I'm not a sympathetic soul, Jay. That's okay. I can't tell you that I am. However, you can learn to be. And so that's, to answer your question, where the emotional intelligence, it's the ability to identify. Now, emotional intelligence has three components. You have to identify it, you have to understand it, and adjust your behavior. So it's not enough just to identify that you don't have the empathy and share with the person, hey, I'm not empathetic to your situation. That's not enough. Someone with a high emotional intelligence will now, and James alluded to it, ask questions to gain perspective and more information. The challenge is that we only operate off of our perspective, our experience, and our education. The opportunity to consider a perspective other than your own is to ask questions to understand it. Now, just think about that and just sit with it for a moment. If we did that politically, if we did that from a race relations standpoint, if we did it from a standpoint of our employees being employees versus being owners.
Hey, Jay,
Yes, sir.
difference between empathy and sympathy.
Yeah, so this is one that I really had to get some understanding on, because we almost use them interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is, let me give you an example, is I have a good friend about 4 years ago, he called me up bawling in tears. And I was, somewhat taken back. He's a hardcore guy from New York, doesn't do this, but his dogs had died. And he had actually contributed to that, because where he lives, it gets extremely hot. And he has ADHD, and he had him in the car, ran the house, 4 hours later, remembered. And he was just broken, completely broken. I'm a sympathetic person, not an empathetic person. I said, listen, bud, I'll stay on the call and I'll cry with you. I'll listen to you. And I'll be there for you. And I did. So when I get off the phone, he lives across the country, and I told the story to my wife. My wife immediately breaks down, crying uncontrollably, and says, you've got to get out there. And I said, I will. I'm a little tight now, but in 3 or 4 weeks, I'll get out there. She said, no, you need to be out there with the time difference by tomorrow morning. So we compromised, and I was out there the next morning. That's the difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy actually feels, and it's very common in the beauty industry for people to be empaths. They actually take on the energy and the thinking of the other person. If someone's telling a sad story and you're like, oh, Lord, baby Jesus, stop, hold on, let me go get a tissue box. You're probably an empath. If you can't watch a TV show because you go, there's just too much stress in that marriage, and I take it on, you're probably an empath. You take on the energy and thinking. Sympathy is different. I may not be able to feel what that person's going through, but I know the behaviors to accommodate that person. I may not believe with them politically. I may not know what it's like to have someone die, but I've seen a movie. I've read a book. I know how to make people feel better, and I will go through those behaviors. So let me stop there, Andrew. How well did I answer your question? Empathy versus sympathy.
Okay, so I see the distinction. For me, and it rather rolls back to the original intent, how we show up. So whether it's and we're being empathic or sympathetic, we're showing up for the other in a kind way. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I love where you connected the dots, because what's in it for you is it allows you to show up for the other person the way that they need you to show up for them, not the way that you want to show up for them. Have you ever, unscripted, someone says, you know what, you get me? I mean, it's where it happens in life. But generally, there's some level of empathy where the person is connected. Either that, or you've refined that skill set of showing sympathy, that it builds connection with that person. And people with a high emotional intelligence have the ability to identify when they can empathize and when they can't, but yet they need to get the commitment or the buy-in that they need from those people.
So Jacqueline says, what's the difference between sympathy and pity?
Wow, you guys are going to go deep. So I think that here's what I would say. One involves judgment and the other doesn't. Let me just net it out. Pity, you are now forming a judgment that warrants the reaction, that I feel sorry for you. Sympathy could be an acknowledgement, where pity might be a validation. And so you may not always feel what the other person is feeling. So to show that pity, it may not warrant it, because you might go, listen, you know what? Big boys don't cry, right? Now you struggle, and you go, oh, listen, sorry to hear that. You know, I could have told my buddy, oh, you poor guy, you know, but that may not have been the way I was feeling. Sympathy is just some acknowledgement of, hey, you've been through something that sounds like has pushed you in a different way. I didn't say it was bad. I didn't validate it. I acknowledged it. And so I love the question, because it gives you an option. Pity is an interesting concept all to its own. I want to be careful not to deviate too much. Is it that you want to show pity, or the other person's asking for it? You could see this would be a deep conversation. So I'm just going to ask the person, did I differentiate enough between sympathy and a pity that one shows judgment, one is validation, and the other is just simply an acknowledgement?
Hey Jay, from my perspective, taking out the words sympathy, pity, empathy, right? What it comes down to, I think, as owners, we need to be able to identify and relate, but not give in. So a lot of owners think that understanding the employee's emotions is the same as giving in to those employees' emotions. And there's a clear difference, because we have a game plan. We have a business mission, right? And that's our core value. Now, when an employee comes in and they're counter that, I'll say, we have to understand their feelings, but then we have to ask why and see if that fits in with our core mission. Do you understand where I'm going?
I do. You bring up a good segue, because one of your segues is the name of my chapter, which is acknowledge versus validate. And as an owner, you can understand you don't have to validate. Validate requires some sort of judgment, maybe some sort of agreement, because if you don't agree, you can't validate it. Acknowledgement is different. What you're saying is that I hear you, is that, you know what, I'll give you an example is, I was talking to a stylist, and the stylist said, I wish I had this conversation before. I had someone in my chair, and they said, you know what, I just got a divorce. She goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that, right? She just validated, that's horrible. And then, of course, the conversation, she said, yeah, I'm moving to the city. She goes, oh my God, I hate the city. I'm so sorry for you. And the woman said, the divorce, my husband and I have never gotten along better. And I have always wanted to live in the city, and now it's my chance. And in an effort to validate, do you see, she didn't understand. She didn't seek to understand. She could have acknowledged that, listen, I know a lot of people have gone through a divorce and it affects everyone differently. How's it affected you? And then when she talked about the city, telling people live in the cities, people live in the suburbs, what's your preference? And it's imperative as a leader that you understand, I don't have to validate. In life, it's been liberating for me. I just have to acknowledge, Democrat, Republican, I'm not getting into this. I don't have to agree. I don't have to validate one's right or wrong. But I can acknowledge that there's some things that you're drawn to as it relates to that political party. That's it. Person goes, okay, you get me. Now we're tracking. So I love what you're saying, and I think it can be a pinch point. And the book is written like this, the things that you talk about. Now, you talked about what versus why. And again, this is great, you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. There's a chapter in the book about what versus why. And when I work with leaders, I think it's an imperative distinction that you understand the dynamic between the two words. When you ask why, it takes you back in time and is problem focused. What questions are future-based and solution-based thinking? So say that I'm assuming the group is made up of the salon industry. So I'm going to use those examples. Is say you have an employee who's always late and you ask them, why are you late? In the brain, it goes back in time. They go, when I got home, I was really tired. I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, my battery on my phone was dead. And then we were all supposed to go to dinner. And then by the time I got a charge and I talked to the people, we weren't. Have you guys ever had these? And you go, oh my God, there's got to be a better question. The question is, what? It's the same question, just replace why. So you just say to me, Jay, going forward, what needs to happen so that you're on time going forward? Why takes you back in time? Why questions are also to diagnose. Now, I'm not saying it's not your skill set. I don't know that. People who are therapists or psychologists are uniquely trained and educated to diagnose. As a leader, that's not my primary function, nor is it my skill set, nor am I uniquely trained to do that. So I lean towards what questions. What needs to happen so that you're on time going forward? What needs to happen going forward so that you have a comfort level in recommending all of our brands? What needs to happen for you differently so that you can see more clients in the course of a day? So for anybody who's on that has a degree in this, I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying, generically speaking, the people that I work with, a majority of them don't have the skill set to diagnose, and it can take you down a path. Now, say that somebody is, having problems with you and they're talking to you at work, and we have a tendency to go, well, why are you and your boyfriend arguing? Or why are you and your girlfriend arguing? Well, if I own a business, maybe interesting, it's not useful to me. What I want to know is what do you need to do differently so that what's going on for you personally doesn't affect you professionally? Do you see the difference as a leader of a business and your primary role versus a therapist or a counselor? And we struggle, I think, we, meaning humanity, meaning leaders as a whole. And by the way, I work inside and outside the industry. If we didn't mention what we did for a living and we sat in a room, we all have the same challenges. But we struggle between being a counselor and being a coach, right? And being a consultant to our people. And I think there's value in being a consultant to your people. I think there's value in coaching by the purest definition of it. Counseling, it's not where I'd recommend that you go as it relates to business and being a leader.
So Jay, I've got a comment.
Great advice.
Great, beyond belief.
Yeah, we're just not,
we're
not trained.
My narrow training, right, So one of the examples I can
You
give,
need the Marines?
we used to do, we call battlefield scenarios, right? So we do a mock-up of who we're going to attack when we are going to attack them. Instead of the leader saying, okay, this, and this, we always said, okay, team, come up with solutions. What's the solution? Not what are the problems, right? And everybody could voice their opinion regardless, good or bad. But ultimately, we gave the groundwork for what we wanted done. Then they came up with the solutions, what they were going to do it, right? As a team. So what you said earlier, what, that word came up constantly, not why.
But what? Yeah, I love what you're saying because, and by the way, for anyone who's a Simon Sinek fan, I'm not discounting what he's saying. He and I are contextually talking about two different things. And so he's talking about the why when you're pursuing a mission and a goal that you do have to understand, because as you encounter adversity, you do need to understand why you're doing something, right? So imagine somebody's going through college who's struggling and they have 2 or 3 jobs and they need to understand why they're doing it. So for anybody who's a fan of Simon Sinek, this is specific to conversation, not what he's talking about. What Derek just articulated, you did just a great example, is that now your people can function, they can't function in uncertainty, things being uncertain and unclear. They can't be. And so Derek just gave the example where, things may have been uncertain about, exactly what was going to be done, but it wasn't unclear on how it was going to be done. We were going to do it as a team, and collaboration, our value of collaboration was going to play a part in this. And so I think it's imperative that you understand how you show up, is that you can't be uncertain and unclear, and you can't be uncertain. These are uncertain times. If you look at what's going on now, in my lifetime, things have never been more uncertain. It's imperative as a leader that you are clear now. And you're clear on how you're going to respond to this lack of clarity. This is really interesting. This guy I was listening to is a neuroscientist, and just fascinating. But he said the brain seeks 3 things: duration, path, and outcome. And so I want you to know, James, I'm tying this back to how we show up, because I don't want to give you the behaviors and well, you should do this and you should have a journal and you should have positive, not that they're wrong. I just want to explain from a neuroscience standpoint how your brain works. If you guys understand this, you'll figure out these other things. So, and I don't want to be too scientific, but it's the brain seeks duration. And that's what's so unsettling now, is we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how long the virus is going to last. We don't know when we're going to go back to work. We don't know how long we can stay open. Is it going to be 25%? Is it going to be 25%? Is it going to be 50% capacity? But the duration and path and outcome is just unclear. Can you guys relate to that? So your brain, right, that drives everything you do and functions off of duration, path, and outcome, it's not there for us. Now, this was very interesting to me, because I want to be able to navigate and show up differently for people. I had to show up for myself. How are you leading yourself? If you want to lead people, you got to be able to lead yourself. You got to realize they're looking at you and go, well, how are you leading yourself? So for me, and even for my family and for my clients, around the duration, I'm operating just within 30-day increments. I'm not telling you to. I'm just saying for my brain, because I understand it needs duration, I operate within 30 days. So we didn't see the family, but we're talking when they go, well, what are we doing for Thanksgiving? The brain, well, I don't know what's going to happen, and how's that going to happen? How's everyone? I said, you know what? I only operate within 30 days, period. And that's outside of it. So what I do know is that things have been changing and evolving over 30 days. So as we get within 30 days, I'll be able to share with you what our plans are. But all of a sudden, I find the things that my brain needs, dopamine, serotonin, released in my brain. And these are the things that give you the energy you need to navigate through this now. So I talk about the dopamine, the serotonin. There's something, I'm looking at a whiteboard because I had a note that I wanted to talk to you guys about, is the touch. I'm sorry. So oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, these are the things that give us a second wind. Derek, you're talking about you doing the 100 push-ups. You're talking about your friends doing the 3,000. The neuroscientist was talking about how people who can do these almost unbelievable feats, they know how to release dopamine in their body. And so part of what they talked about for Navy SEALs is that with this duration path and outcome, they say, you know what, I'm halfway through. Duration right away. Okay, I'm halfway through, only half to go, right? And the path is I'm going to do 3,000. Well, I'm going to break it down. That I'm going to do them in increments of 120. And the outcome will be, it's going to be about 8 hours or so, but I'll get to the 3,000. And so they realized how to trigger these things. And I'm sharing it with you guys because if you can realize how to trigger the serotonin, the oxytocin, the dopamine in your brain, it will get you through. It will allow you to show up. So let me pause. I realize I threw a lot out there. Someone may have asked a question. So will you guys just help me to respond to them in a timely manner?
I'll ask
Yeah,
you a question. I haven't seen, but I have one.
Okay. And then I want to talk about touch because I want to link it with those.
It specifically relates to that last sentence that you shared with us. Trigger and behavioral change, and how difficult this stuff is difficult to do because we're triggering ourselves all the time with other stuff, other thinking. How do we make the shift? What triggers do we, when we're faced with something, and we should be, as to your advice, empathetic, sympathetic, and respectful in that moment. What do we do to shift into that?
Yeah, so the empathy, sympathy, and respectfulness, you need to extend to other people, and you also need to extend to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to get esoterical with you. I'm just telling you that you need to show empathy to yourself. And for some of you, you've spent a disproportionate amount of hours and money and resources and energy. And it's interesting because you have at other times in your life, and you probably don't realize it, but you're experiencing burnout now. And I want to answer your question, Andrew, so I'm going to ask you to keep me online, is that it's imperative that you have this mindfulness, you're in the moment about what's going on. Here, let me define burnout so that we're all using the same working definition here. Burnout is when there's not an emotional return on your physical investment.
Mm-hmm.
When there's not an emotional return on your physical investment. I tell this story, and I'll tell it quickly, and hopefully you guys find it somewhat entertaining, and there's no judgment here. But my youngest son, he was in his third year of college. So proud of him. He'll be the first male in my lineage to have a college degree. And so there's not anything we wouldn't do for him. I was extremely proud of him. Well, he spent the summer in New York, had an internship. And we love our boys and we miss them, and we would have been our preference to have them at home. He called me up at the end of the summer. I think we saw him twice during the summer. He said, Dad, I want to get back to school. I'm really, really excited. 9 of us are going to be in the house. And I said, son, I know it's exciting. I'm excited for you. We'll come and pick you up. We'll do everything we have to do in 2-3 days, and we'll get you to school. He goes, Dad, I want to get there sooner. I said, well, how soon are you thinking? He said, well, I was hoping you could come and pick me up, and then you could just take me to school. So we live in Philadelphia. We're about 2.5 hours outside New York City where he was. So we had to drive to New York City. We had to move him out of his apartment. And then it was about a 4-hour drive from New York to Penn State, where he's going to school. However, there's an accident, so it took 5.5 hours. But when we got there, we were still excited for him, and we had great conversation. And we got him all moved in. And so after a couple hours of moving in, I had to drive home that night because I had to fly out the next day. So 2.5 hours to New York, we had to move him out of his apartment. About 5.5 hours to Penn State, we had to move him in. And then I had a 3.5 hour drive. I said, son, I want to take you to dinner. Before we go, can I just get a picture of you in front of your house? He goes, oh my God, Dad, can we just go? Burnout. I was fine. I would have driven 24 hours in that one day. As long as I was getting an emotional return, we had great conversation there. And I was so proud of him. He talked about he's going to find a job. He's always going to stay close to home because family's everything to him. And in that moment, I experienced burnout. And it can happen like that, or it can happen over time. How many of you have been in marriage? And if I'm hitting too close to home, I apologize, but just bear with me. Were there's things that you did in your relationship, right? You went over and beyond for that person, whether it's cleaning up or it's shopping or it's arranging their life. And you got that emotional return, that acknowledgement, that validation, the gifts, whatever the time, whatever it may be. But at some point in time, you weren't getting that emotional return on your physical investment. So whether it's your relationship or your kids. And with what's going on right now, if you weren't getting that acknowledgement from your team, from your business partner, maybe from your partner at home about how hard you're working, how resilient you've been, man, I would have not been able to maintain my temper in that situation, you can experience burnout. And so as you go through this, one of the things to be aware of is what is burning me out. Where am I not getting an emotional return on my physical investment? And do I spend time there? Now, I'd spend the time with the person to share that with them and see what you can do to change that. But I want to answer your question is that you have to be aware of this all starts with the emotional intelligence, the ability to identify and understand. In that moment, I won't tell you the rest of the story because I'm not really proud of the way I responded, but everything's great. My son, got a job, moved back home. It's a happy ending to the story. But I realized what was going on. And it took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And I realized I just had shared with my son, I was tracking with you all along. It was never, ever an issue. It's just when I didn't get an emotional return, when there wasn't the acknowledgement, I needed validation at that point. I'm a good father. I'm a loving father. We have a good relationship. And I was able to articulate. And he said, Dad, that was not my intent at all. He said, what you didn't know is that I stayed up the entire night before and had no sleep whatsoever. But do you see where empathy and sympathy dropped in, and where him being respectful back to me began to develop this momentum? And this is what we're missing in the world. This is what we're missing in business. This is what we're missing in our interactions with our landlord. We got to ask the landlord when we're negotiating, you have to show empathy and sympathy and respectfulness and tell him, listen, I've never asked, what is the effect on you with people? And what is a scenario that would be an ideal scenario for you? I can't commit to it, but before we get started, I want you to know that I'm interested in knowing that. This is how things work. This is as a leader. So whether you're leading that conversation, leading the people, or leading the relationship, or leading your family, this is how it starts. But you have to have the awareness. And if you're out of control emotionally, you need to identify that.
Jay, I want to go back a second. We
Yeah.
talked a little bit about burnout. I know there are a couple people that were chiming in. Yes, burnout. One of the things I've learned, and I wouldn't say I get burned out. And I'm not bragging. I'm like the Ever Ready Bunny. I just keep going. And there's a way I found to do that. And maybe you can psychoanalyze me, right?
Is it legal?
But one of the things I do is I break everything down into such small bites that 10 minutes from now doesn't matter. And I learned that during Hell Week, because if you thought that in the beginning of Hell Week, you were going to stay up for 5 days, you're not going to eat, you're going to be tortured for all 5 days, right? most people say, F this, I'm quitting now. But the guys that were around me, we learned to live in that exact moment just to get through that moment, right? And I still carry that with me. So if I have tasks, I break them down. You know, I always use an analogy in coaching. I say, don't eat the pizza in one bite. Take a bite at a time, savor it, right? And enjoy the slice and then enjoy the pizza, whatever it might be. I know it's a silly analogy, but it helps you get through things and keep from getting burnt out, where the point is you don't even think about the long-term goal, because the long-term goal is on your whiteboard somewhere. And you know the lessons that are going to get you there, but you got to break them down so small that you can't keep forward thinking, because that usually forward thinking is what will burn you out, because I'm not reaching my goal right now, immediate gratification.
I'm smiling because, so I think if everybody's listening, you heard duration, we're going to cut it down to 10 minutes. It dictated the path from there. This is what I'm going to do, and here's what the outcome is going to be. There's something that goes on as I was listening to this neuroscientist, and he blew my mind. I had to just actually stop and just take it all in. But what you just articulated, Derek, is what he was articulating. It's a self-reward. The people that are, and they're talking about the training in the Navy SEALs, is that they learn to self-reward. They do not rely on the outside validation or reward of others, which is a finite amount of reward or validation. They learn to reward themselves. They know how to trigger the brain, what you just said with duration, path, and outcome, to trigger serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. They have figured out how to do it. You just articulate and give a perfect example of what that model is. And it's how they navigate through adversity. It's a prime example. I get so excited about this, and I just want to measure up for everyone that I'm sharing in a way that it resonates with you and that you're interested in. I would love to go deeper with this. And Derek, you just gave a prime example of people, if they're taking notes, duration, set duration. If you have somebody that, this is horrible, this is the worst thing, and I don't know when I'm going to make money. First thing, let's set some duration on this. How long do you think that's going to be? And how much do you need to make in the short term, right? And through that, you'll develop the path. Well, what do we need to do for that? So if we can get this out.
Celebrate the small victories.
Yeah, realizing that the celebrating will trigger this chemical in your body. I want you to understand from a neuroscience standpoint, the physiological response to what Derek is saying. He's not saying just celebrate to celebrate. He's saying that you can trigger all these chemicals that cause you to take action. Because ultimately, everything that we're talking about requires you taking action. By the way, please don't miss that point. This has a very specific result. It's to take action. And the people who are doing what you're talking about, Derek, are continuing to take action. And the reason is, from a physiological standpoint, is dopamine, it's serotonin, and it's oxytocin. I just want to shift your thinking that you go, well, how do I get these chemicals released in this person? Ask somebody, what would be a short-term win for you? If that's the long-term goal, is to make $65,000, what would be a short-term win for you? They go, man, if I could just pay my bills. You go, what does that look like? They go, I don't know. I don't know how much my bills are. I mean, I know we've had this conversation, and
You could break it down into the point. Did I make one more dollar today than yesterday? Celebrate those small victories. Push forward, and in every hardship, there's always some small victory. I mean, if anybody looks back at prisoners of war and stuff like that, that's how they lived. They lived by small victories.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's how they got out. And it's the people who didn't, that were just, hey, we'll be out by Thanksgiving, we'll be out by Christmas. They just lost hope. Absolutely.
I'm celebrating the small victory that I was on 3 different devices trying to stay in this meeting, and Zoom was just hammering me to not let me in. So if you noticed my green screen a little while ago, I'm working it out. Look, See, that's what happens when you have multi devices that you can jump in. A little tech support.
Yes. That's why you're the CIO, the Chief Information Officer.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we could find other initials that go with those, but we'll have to figure it out. Oh, now Apple wants me to know if I want to report that I had all these issues, but we'll just save that for another day.
What am I doing on time? How am I doing as far as addressing how to show up?
We're good, Jay. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew. As you know, you're a friend of the BBR. You're a friend of mine. Obviously, you're local. You do a lot of work with our distributors. So I've had the luxury of seeing Jay, or maybe not the luxury. I don't know, empathy or sympathy of being in a room with Jay many times at many events. Jay does this great thing where he loves to throw you to the wolves, where there's the crazy guy that walks up to him and wants to talk to him, and Jay's a little bit of a germaphobe, so I'm sure that the mask wearing and hand sanitizer is good for you at this point. But he'll be like, "Oh, hey, do you know this guy?" And then he turns around and walks away, and you get stuck with this random guy that you don't know.
Thank you. You're not doing my eulogy, by the way.
Yeah.
What it looks like of getting somebody different.
But one of the interesting things with this timing, and salon owners are always trying to find more interesting ways to keep their staff engaged and in education. And I know when you're in the hair business, obviously the technical side is something that everybody wants, and what's the new cut or what's the new color line we carry. But Jay and I have been talking about doing something for our team. So we're like a lot of salons right now where we're split shifted. It's really not that easy. I mean, I'm doing email meetings right now for our monthly, which is just brutal because, I'm taking my vaccine and then I'm typing a thing. And then it's like, how did that come across that it sound like a text when I'm saying, hey, make sure you show up on time tomorrow? It's just so different and has no dynamic. So Jay and I talked about doing that for our staff, and even sort of morphed into doing it for some other salon owner friends of ours, where we had sort of like this powwow meeting of just some direction. Sometimes it takes another voice to come in that's not a hair guru in terms of telling you how to cut or color, that you need somebody that sort of is on the cusp of what you're doing to ask those questions so you can reflect back on it.
Did you want me to respond with what we were talking about, James?
I do, but I also want to make sure that I don't know if I'll pretend that's something that I invented, that I thought that was a great way to get Jay Williams integrated into your salon and to get the team together. Whether it's, in our case, we're sort of at a peer level. We don't have a lot of tiers in terms of management. But even for our smaller salon, I thought it would be a great way to have another voice in. But is that something that you're going to start offering now, Jay, now that you're a Zoom expert with your nice fancy microphone?
Yes, now that I have a voice and a microphone. Yeah, so, here's two things. I think everybody can relate to this, is that there's been some innovation that's happened in the last 5 months or so. And one of the things that's come to mind for me, I've begun to realize, and so now this might be my 73rd Zoom call. Here's some things I've learned, is that one, bigger's not better. That time is an issue, and it will be going forward. When you look at salons that are maybe operating at 25 or 50 or 60 or 70% capacity, the solution is to have longer days or work more days. So we may not have this luxury of time, meaning that we had a whole Monday for education or Tuesday morning. So I've put together these modules that are 45-minute modules. And the idea is that we'd spend time together. Really, 15 minutes of it would be, for lack of better terms, theory, but sharing a framework. So what versus why, or may talk about consultation, may talk about values, may talk about trust. And then the other 30 minutes is really an interactive part of engaging with the group. And so again, 45 minutes, because human beings, when I was writing the book, I was doing research on attention span, long book, short book, where's people's attention span. Microsoft did a study. A human being's attention span is 8 seconds. A goldfish is 9 seconds. So, but they don't read, so no need to write a book for them. So that's why I want to shorten this up and meet the audience right where they're at in their attention span. So it'll be 45 minutes, 30 minutes. They're going to own that piece. And I have about 15 modules built out for that. 45 minutes. The other thing, one is time and money. I think when you look at anything in life, why don't you have a pool or why don't you go on vacation? It's either time or money, one of those two things. Is I think I had to move the price point so that it was bite size. So now it'll be $500. You can get up to 8 people in there. Now, if you ask me about the number, the reason is as I was doing this and I was watching, there's a dynamic that the larger the number of participants, the lower the engagement level. And so that's where that 8 comes in. And it's about the amount that I can have a significant relationship with where I can influence them. Jesus went at me. He could do 12. I can only do 8. I'm working on it though. So if you guys are looking at it, so time and money, only $500. And then that gave someone an opportunity to make this part of a strategy instead of a one and done or just an event. And then only 45 minutes because of the attention span that they would leave and say, hey, I want more. Or they could get out and they could implement, they could take this theory and make it practical right away. And 8, so that we could bolster the engagement level. It also allows me to read people in the audience and to pull them in. And so I hope, someone said, I love you, but you lost me. Just as a human being or connection-wise, or explain the concept? Tell me more about that. Somebody have that, James? Love you.
And said the concept.
Oh, the concept. Okay, let me net it out. 45 minutes, up to 8 people, $500 via Zoom. So,
Well, she loves you again, so you're back in Anne's good graces. So
this is a lot like a marriage, Anne. One day you love me, one day you, yes. I love you to consult. Yeah, we can hop on the phone if that's something that you guys want to do. You can definitely reach out to me and we can talk about that. So if it's one-on-one, it would look a little bit different. We can absolutely do that. Would it be a shameless plug to give my email? What?
no, absolutely.
Oh, she's confused again. So she loved me. She doesn't love me. She's just confused. The amount I gave you is for up to 8 people on there. If you wanted to have a one-on-one call with me, it's $200. It's only $200. So if that's so that would be consulting, would be the one-on-one. The class jumped from 4 to 14 this past month. I lost track who was in the class, who had done their practice, who had not, especially since we need COVID guys. One student is deaf. Been kind of nuts. Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. Here's the other thing that you need to understand about the human brain is that there are no two human brains that are alike. Never have been, never will be. And what we've been trying to do is to force training into what's convenient to us. And we're not getting an ROI on it, a return on investment for what we do with our people. So I would love to talk to you about it. You did a shameless plug. I don't want to do anything that
No, Jay, post out your email and your phone number that people can reach you.
okay.
Just type
Yeah.
it in that.
We can put that up too, Jay, with the pre-order link for the book. And I think as we start to round the bases, what we had done, I know I mentioned that before the call actually started, but we had our 2 magical unicorns, Vanessa Rose and Mary Wilson, on for the first starter call of this. So we had asked them to pose a few questions. So we had posted them up in the group. What have you done for your mental health? What have you done for your physical health? What are some things that you're doing to keep it fun for your staff? So the girls had gone over the weekend and sorted through the comments and picked a bunch of winners. You very lucky winners are all going to get your own signed copy of Jay's new book, which when is the official release, Jay? October 5th?
October 15th. Is
October
when
15th.
Yeah.
So our winners, we'll talk a little bit about them before we go, because I think Jay will be happy with some of the comments they made. But those will be sponsored by the BBR. Jay has always been a good to us as a guest, but the BBR is going to sponsor them, and we're going to pick what he writes inside of them, though. So, hey, listen, if we're buying the books, man, you got to take it. It'll have your name.
You're going to sign them as well?
Oh yeah, we actually, you know what? The 3 of us are, we're going to take the books, and Andrew, Derek, and I are going to sign them. That'll be even more interesting.
Make them more valuable, certainly.
But just to highlight some of the salon owners, and they were from all over the place, which is really cool. our friend Michelle Miller, who's from the Wholeness Center in Valley Cottage, New York. Michelle is a spa only, kind of got the back end of all of this crazy COVID where finally when salons started to open, she still could not because of the services and the facials and things, but she always kept a good mental outlook through this. She's been on, I mean, man, Michelle's probably on almost every single call since early April, but what she did was for her mental health, instead of just focusing on herself, she went ahead and became a charter salon for our good friends over at Mondays at Racine out in Long Island. So she's going to be providing services once a month for people that are undergoing treatment for cancer, which was her way to give back and say, let me put the spin and give it back to COVID a little bit, which was really cool. But Michelle, that's a great thing. We love the girls at Racine. Just don't go out drinking with them when you can, because you may not may not make it. You may miss a Monday or two here or there. The second one was our friends Randy. I know Randy's on the YouTube, and poor Linda with her broken foot from Labor Day. But they're Paisley and Plaid Salon over in Brookfield, Wisconsin, and one of the things that he reflected on was when, and they had reopened a little before all of us out there, that, it was a gift that those clients were actually sitting in his chair. Like, they chose to spend that time with him and in his salon and with his staff, which, it's hard. You're in a mask, you're pissed off, you're doing all these sanitation things to the max that have to be visible, and doing a lot of planning in terms of your booking. So I thought that was really, I'll say sweet just to bust Randy a little bit, because he's got this big burly beard and he's always giving me beard techniques if I decide to grow it out again. But Randy, that was great. And that's really important, I think, to reflect back on, the fact that they chose to spend that time, right? This or that. You could be here or you could be there. They chose that time with you. What do you think about that, Jay?
I love it. Part of, and Andrew had asked the question, and I think Paisley and Plaid, he said that they modeled it, is how do I want people to describe how I was during this time? And, for him, I think, I hear in his comment that he wants people to describe, he's my go-to guy. He's the guy that kind of helped me course correct. He's the guy that made me feel better about myself. He's the guy who gave me significance and self-worth and sense of belonging. He lended a listening ear. He always had a smile on his face. And I love it because it's a mindset. And that thinking will drive the emotion and the behaviors. You could tell people to be nice and to listen, but if your thinking isn't his thinking, which is, how do I want people to say I showed up during this time? And what difference did I make? I love it. Love it.
No, that was so. And keeping going with that, our friend Jay Martinez, she's out in Florida in Pinellas Park. Her salon is Glam Kitty Hair Studio, which I know, Jay, if you were going to open a salon, that would be, you might have to get a trademark war over it.
I'll have to brainstorm. I love it.
Jay took it, but besides Jay being a rocker, and she's actually a local rock star in what she does, she kind of has that rocker feel to her salon, but what she does to keep her clients engaged is she has a big multiple choice board with questions about the staff, and she gives away a free haircut, but the clients come in and they're all clamoring, and they're always fun questions. How many cats do they own, or crazy things, but just another way that doesn't have to be so hair focused, or, what did you learn from COVID? You know what? I'd like to know how many cats Jay owns. My guess is 2. If I guess right, Jay, then Jay will actually buy the book and send me a signed book. But
I would have to purchase the 2 cats to
Yes.
own 2 chickens, but yes.
That's it. And really the last question that was asked, it was sort of a really interesting
Can I
tie.
comment just
Yeah,
right quick?
sure.
I love what she did, and this is where I think that we really need to focus, is not to deviate on what got us here. Is the world's changed, but the mission hasn't changed. And I'm sensing that this rock star that you talked about, that took the name of the salon that I would use, has a value of fun. And fun is a value, by the way. And you can see how she leveraged that value in her culture, and how she turned it into a compelling cause for others to follow and to get involved. So I just don't want that to be lost on anyone. It's not arbitrary. She has a value. She's leading with her values. And fun is about, there's over 4,400 values. Fun is absolutely a value. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, and that's great. And our last one, it was sort of a two-way tie. Both of it, and I even had to weigh in, and I don't know, I couldn't decide either. But a friend of ours, Erin Elliott from Alter Ego Salon, which is in Frederick, Maryland, she's got an hour-long commute to work every day. So to keep positive, she listens to whether it's upbeat music or whether it's recast of the BBR. She does whatever she can do to sort of stay out of that negative funk and listen to the news and things. But what she does that's really interesting is she handwrites 3 cards every day, either to family, a friend, a client, someone in need, whether it's a check-in, and just drops them off in the mail first thing in the morning as soon as she walks out the door, and lets them go out into the universe, which I thought was, I mean, super thoughtful, obviously, but just a great way to sort of, I don't know. From my end, if I did that, I feel like I would have that value that my day was started that way for something so simple as just a check-in, that it wouldn't matter what ruckus I caused the rest of the day. My day started that way. So I may start doing that myself.
I love it. I know it's not my job to comment on each and every one. I feel as though everybody's trying to be different in the exact same way. Has everybody experienced that, And I love it. The handwritten note, nothing has replicated that. Going to the mailbox and getting something that's handwritten, it happened to me recently, and it's just lost. No one's doing it. And it's a great way to differentiate yourself. And, she does 3 a day. That's 15 a week. That's 60 a month. That's 720 over the course of the year. Listen, if you miss 100 days, 200, it's still remarkable. And that's where you need to show empathy, sympathy, and be respectful to yourself. And I think to Derek's point, you know what? I didn't do it every day, but I wrote 100 more thank you notes and maybe made 100 people's days. So I love it.
Yeah, and last but not least, the tie was. Go ahead,
Dave,
go ahead.
hold on one second. Going back to that, the number 1 salesman in the country for car sales. Guess how he did it?
Handwritten
Exactly what you
notes.
He wrote handwritten notes back to all his past clients for his whole career, and he outsold everybody in the industry.
I mean, if you ask the group, we won't do it now. How many handwritten cards have you gotten in the last year? I bet you could count on a couple of fingers, maybe.
I got one. Andrew sent me one.
That's one more than I've received from Andrew. Okay. Yeah.
That's a true
Okay,
story,
Jay.
though. I've got one
Okay.
this year, and Andrew.
I can't solicit it, though.
That depends out, Andrew. We're ready.
Okay,
Yes.
you'll get my special note.
Oh, wait, Andrew sent one to me, too. Oh, so I'm the only one who didn't get one. Okay. All right. Go ahead. That's,
I sent one to someone recently, and it had to be the U.S. It took 2 months to get to her. So Jay, yours is in the mail.
there you go. That's a safe. That's a safe. Okay. Well, I'll start the clock now.
Your handwritten note is in the mail,
Yes.
and the last one. So the last winner is someone that my wife and I, Angela, know really well. We've been fortunate enough to go, and it wasn't cherry picked, by the way. She just gave a great answer. But our friends Nicole and Charles that own Blua Color Salon, which is out in Fenton, Missouri. I mean, listen, I don't have to get into how many times we've had good times. We've been fortunate to be with them in Iceland and London. We've been so many places because we carry the same brand. But they sort of were in the same mode that a lot of salon owners that have been on with COVID, between their kids and their stuff and the salon closed and their staff. And, Nicole, they work. They're educators for the line, and they really do work. And, she sort of took a step back and said, I'm only going to spend these 2 weeks focusing on the things that are absolutely necessary for me to deal with. And I'm going to try to sleep better. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to eat healthier. And she sort of did this whole reset of her own. And mind you, she's doing great with it, but it also wasn't like she said, I spent the last 6 years doing this vegan diet. I mean, she said, hey, 30 days and I'm going to try to do this reset. So it wasn't a lot of time for her to feel better and look better and have a better mental clarity over things. But what she said that I thought was the most interesting was self-care is more than rewarding yourself with a massage. If you're overworking yourself nonstop and you're doing all these things, who cares about the stupid massage, right? I mean, your self-care is about the balance of things and clarity and a lot of the things that we talked about tonight, which Jay is an absolute expert in. Or maybe.
No, I'm doing what I can, you know. So where does that leave us then? What's next?
So
Books?
we have our 5 winners. I've reached out to them already online. So you guys, the second they come out hot off the press, you'll get your signed Jay Williams
Fantastic.
books, and we'll send them out to you guys. And hopefully that'll give a nice conversation for them. So I mean, listen, who doesn't want to read a free book? I mean, you know.
I don't. I want to read a book I've paid for. And
what
hopefully
you
everybody
call-
feels that way. I don't know. Says the guy who hasn't written his first book. When are you going to write yours, James?
Well, I'm waiting for Andrew, and then Andrew's gonna be you have all these fancy people on the back. Like, interestingly enough, Gino Stampora, who's gonna be with us in 2 weeks, wrote this really great thing about. This is on your last book, Jay. This isn't. This is on the Leave Your Mark book.
Oh,
But
okay.
Gino wrote this great thing, and I've had the luxury of speaking to Gino almost once a week since the closure, and I don't know if Gino wrote this. I think maybe Barbara wrote this.
So here's what I was told in my second book. By the way, for those of you who are looking for random facts, on most books, you write the testimonials and just go to the people and say, "Hey, will you put your name on this?" So I'm just telling you, it's common practice. So if you're questioning,
I love it. I love it. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to ask Jay. Not now. He's going to send a question. We're going to post that up in the group. So we are going to be off next week. This way I can fast with Andrew for Yom Kippur and make sure I get back to my fighting weight pre-COVID. But definitely, Andrew, we want you to enjoy your holiday as well. But
Thank you.
we're going to be off for next week. Gino's going to be with us on the 5th, but Jay is going to post the question to us, and you guys we're going to have another prize coming for the next round. So just trying to keep you guys engaged and interested. But what's even funnier is if you guys haven't been to the Facebook group, go and take a look. So as a joke, because Mary Wilson was one of our judges, I did a 4-part picture of who's your favorite Wilson. So it was the Beach Boys, it was Wilson Phillips, it was Philip Wilson, and it was Wilson the volleyball from Castaway.
tough choices.
Oh, it was really tough. I mean, listen, it was neck and neck there for a while. But yes, but if you guys go into the Facebook group and take a look at what the comment was, Melissa Gross is the winner of that. She's going to get a signed Wilson Collective hat signed by Mary Wilson, because Philip, if you have him sign it, the hat's going to be invaluable. It'll be in a museum somewhere like the Smithsonian. But Melissa, check out her comment, because she actually did a really good job, and I promise I won't tell you. You got to go and read it yourself.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Andrew, James, and Derek, is that for people who do what I do, this is an invaluable venue. You know, when any of us think about, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago about getting an audience, and what's involved there. So I just want to say sincerely to you guys, that you're doing a lot for people that you probably will never know the magnitude. So not only for the people listening, but for people like myself. I wouldn't speak for Gino but I'm sure he feels similar that, he's been doing it for longer than me, just barely, but he's retired now, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah. So no, but he appreciates what you guys do. There's a lot of work and time and effort that goes behind this, where a lot of us just really have to show up. So do appreciate you guys, really, really do. So thank you so
Thank you,
much
Jay.
for that.
Showing up this tonight.
Hey, can you post
Really.
up in the chat? Just post your contact information.
Yes, I put. James, do you want me to do so? It's not, or are you doing it, or did you have one prepared, or?
I do. I can put that up. I'm going to put your J Williams Co.
Yeah, so jay@jwilliamsco.com. To pre-order the book, you can just simply go to thisversusthatbook.com, and it'll take you there, and you can pre-order it. Thanks,
Perfect.
Derek. I appreciate you looking out for me.
And I'll post it up again in the group. We'll put a nice post in there. And that was great. Listen, Jay, it's always nice to have you on. I think you always give some great feedback and questions for everybody to kind of reflect on it. And congratulations to our 5 winners.
Yeah, those were great observations. Thank you, guys. And I owe you a question. Within 24 hours, you'll have one.
23. All right, 23.
23 starting now. Yes. Okay.
After you do your 100 push-ups.
Yeah, on my way to 3,000.
3,000.
On my way to 3,000. So James, thank you. Andrew, thank you. Good to see you. Derek, happy holidays. Andrew, we'll see you
Thanks,
guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Good night, everybody.
Up tonight on the BBR. Next week, not next week, 2 weeks from now, BBR 67, and we'll have Gino on. Correct, James?
Yes, we will.
And that should be a real laugh and a lot of fun. Fellow Point Pleasant boy, he grew up my hometown with me, so it'll be fun. And we'll see you all soon. Happy holidays to all of you, if it is your holiday, and see you on the next BBR.
And everyone stay safe, please.
Yes, absolutely. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Night.